So for our listeners, I'm welcoming today Brock Harlow, CIO of Allied Stone. So it's good to have you in this conversational tone of things here today. Brock, something new for us. Just trying to bring more voices from the woodworking industry to help others benefit from your story. So before I kind of start going into who Allied Stone is and your background, and I think you guys also have Allied Interior Solutions, so it's a multifaceted business. I'm just going to ask you to specifically share a little bit about who Allied Stone is and your background and your role there as a CIO. Pass the mic to you then.
Thanks for having me today. So Allied Stone is relatively new to the cabinet industry. We have our roots in the countertop industry. And we primarily operate in the Texas, Oklahoma region, and we are an importer, a fabricator, and an installer of countertops in the region. So we pretty much service all customer verticals, whether it be residential, builders, trades. So we're in 5 different cities, and you know, the last several years, we've seen an opportunity to grow our offerings into the cabinet space. Our company has grown tremendously in a short period of time, and really the growth that we've experienced has been on the hills of a lot of elbow grease, you know, just paper, clipboards, Excel spreadsheets, and I think we've realized that that can only take you so far. And at some point, which is why I came to the company a little over a year ago, you have to think about technology as a driver of growth. So Allied Stone excited me. As a IT professional, this is my 3rd CIO role, and sort of I would say my niche has been transformation of IT organizations that were viewed as keep the light on to more of a strategic growth driving organization. So I like to call myself lowercase CIO because we have a small team, and I get in there and work with the rest of the team, and that's really what's required to get some of these projects done. And once the growth comes, then we get more team members and we get to do more exciting stuff. So 2020 is, we spend a lot of time on that, and it's an exciting part of what I do every day. So.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So I kind of asked this to Russ. I'm going to ask it of you. Like a lot of acronyms, a lot of things to understand for businesses, ERPs, MES, like manufacturing execution. So I think there is plant operating system. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to think about your technology strategy. So can you expand a little bit about what an ERP is to you, like to Allied, and what an ERP means to you guys, having the strategy of implementing an ERP?
Yeah, I would say if I had to, in one word, it's visibility. When you break it down further, I mean, without an ERP, you can't make good business decisions because you don't have a good understanding of how your business is performing. So it all starts with process. The importance of an ERP is it offers an end-to-end solution that helps you standardize process. When you standardize your process and apply a little discipline through management support, you start to build a baseline of data that is meaningful, that you can trust. And once you build that data, then you make better decisions. And that's the whole name of the game. When you make better decisions, then you grow. So visibility is how I view ERP. And they all offer a lot of things. What we enjoy about 2020 is that 2020 is focused on the finished good. the manufacturing process, the design process, and how it gets to the customer. So that was important for us. So.
From your perspective at Allied, when you guys made the decision that, hey, we need an ERP, we need that visibility, we need to align our business units, what was kind of something that triggered this journey? Like, why did you jump into this journey? Was it a matter of just planning for future growth? Could you give a little bit of idea, like kind of what triggers the point that you're ready for a technology plan?
So when we looked at our growth potential, it just simply didn't add up in terms of you can only add so many more people, machines, square footage to achieve the throughput that you're trying to get. At some point, you have to be able to add business systems to streamline processes and gain those efficiencies. So, when I came in, we made this decision pretty much within a quarter of me arriving. We had disparate systems, complete lack of integration between those. Most of our processes for our cabinet business were completely manual. And so given that, we had a lot of single points of failure in terms of individuals knowing certain things, how to manipulate data or do X, Y, and Z with a spreadsheet. And if they, if we lost them, God forbid, then that puts us in a bad spot. The lack of visibility to how productive we are on the shop floor, how profitable we are, and the timeliness of that information was a clear gap. The lack of scalability. And so all of those things combined led us to the decision to not only implement 2020 Insight, but also commit to the full life cycle and build out our catalogs in 2020 design. So
part of our conversation, as Trish mentioned, so you and I go way back, but I am directly working with you as an account manager. But you had shared some where you've done a study, I'll call it a study for lack of a better word, current state versus desired target state. So business, it's a good place for them to start evaluating maybe. Would you kind of shed some light on that for our listeners that might want to say, how do I begin this journey? Like, how do I know, like, where do I start sorting it out? Like literally, like on their notepad, what are they going to write down?
Yeah, I would say, it often starts, with what questions are you trying to answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you find that you don't have the data and information needed to answer those questions, then you start to think about what solutions can get you there. And so in terms of ERP, it's no secret, a single source of the truth is paramount. When people believe the data that they're seeing, then people start managing and holding others accountable to that data. So that it's just a snowball effect. The other applications in our ecosystem have a purpose, so the solution needs to be easy to integrate with, and flexible in terms of workflow. A lot of times when you go shopping for an ERP, you're hopeful that they tell you how to run your business and what's best practice, but more often than not, there are going to be nuances that are specific to your business that you need to have some flexibility to build that into. And so that was important in our decision, is that although we're in an evolution towards more stable business processes, it takes time, and the flexibility is going to allow us to move at the speed that we want. And then obviously, when we technically look at scalability, the system has to be able to perform based on the throughput that we're expecting. So that was part of our evaluation process and kind of stress testing 2020 and making sure that it could do what we wanted it to do from a processing perspective. So, and then one more point is professional services and support. So none of this happens without a good partner, right? Especially in times of, these tough times of not, most ERP implementations in the past, you have war rooms, people gathering in rooms. That's just not possible anymore. So we needed a partner that was willing to think outside the box and figure out how to work with us on our terms at our pace remotely, and that has gone well. So.
No, I'm glad you brought up that final point, because I was going to try to make a segue. Again, our listeners might not know this is not scripted at all. We're just figuring it out as we go. But when you mentioned the implementation and the professional services, you talk a little bit about the thought that you put into gathering your team on your side. Professional services exist on the side of the software partner, but did you put any or a lot of thought into putting together a team?
So often in small, medium-sized business, you got to work with what you got. And so I will tell you the traits of a team member on an ERP implementation for a small business need to include strong work ethic, the ability to think outside of the box, the ability to wear many hats, and be versatile and have strong communication skills. So I don't, technical is important, but just being able to get in and solve problems is key. We have all of our team members have day jobs, and so we're doing the best we can in terms of squeezing our team to get project milestones accomplished. And so having good people with incentive and initiative is critical. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Kind of, it allows listeners to think about their own implementation, even with whatever technology that they're trying to get implemented. Like you say, your other employees have day jobs and they're kind of divided attention. So your project that you're doing now, 2020 Insight, I'm just ask you as well for like, where's the project at now, Brock, and how is it going in your opinion?
Yeah, so it has many tentacles. So I'll kind of start from the beginning. We have actually 2 teams working concurrently on our design catalog. So we are working through those. Those are near completion. But what that's done is really caused us to think through our product offering because we have to define it in terms of requirements for the catalog. And it's refined it. It has also allowed us to standardize on design, on 2020 design. We had sort of a hodgepodge of different design tools that were used. Each location had their own thing going on. So we've taken the opportunity to train all of our designers and estimators in 2020 design and be part of the catalog creation process. So there's a good understanding of the product and the tool there for both our single family and multifamily businesses. Concurrently with that, we have an Insight implementation team. So our first phase that went live earlier in the spring was simply inventory management and purchasing for our multifamily cabinet company. And so we thought that was a great place, kind of low risk place to start. And we are now live with that and getting better at it every day. Next on deck is manufacturing. So not only the shop floor, but the order entry process, the integration with design, the manufacturing, and then the scheduling. And then lastly, the accounts receivable, which will need to be integrated to our accounting system. So that is what we're calling phase 2. As we look further out into the future, we want to extend 2020 out to the job and to the field. So having visibility to where the finished goods are, what their status is in terms of installation, any quality issues out in the field, all of those things are targets for us. Also, as we begin to build data in 2020, intelligence around pricing and job costing sophistication is a byproduct of all this. I would say a lot of our pricing and job costing methods are primitive right now, and Excel based and manual, and probably the information is stale because of the nature of it. So better decisions, timely, is what we're looking for. And then all of this is multifamily that I've spoken about. We have a single family business that we want to sort of replicate all this with once multifamily is done. So it's a journey, and we're just getting started.
When did you start your true implementation? Do you have a marker in your?
I believe it was June, July of last year.
Okay.
And we've been a little stop-start just due to market conditions and other things, and pandemic.
Right?
Yeah, but we did go live with our first phase, and that is going well now, and hopefully we'll go live with our phase 2 later this summer. So
if we shift into implementation strategy, so you got your team formed, you kind of have your business objectives outlined, you picked your ERP, your implementation strategy. If you wanted to kind of bullet point that for the listeners, like what are some important things in your strategy?
Yeah, so this can often be academic. I'm speaking strictly from experience here. The picking of the right people is critical. Without the rock stars that I have on my team, we wouldn't be able to get it done. So the versatility in having someone on my applications team that can gather a requirement, can design a solution, can facilitate the testing, and can handle the change management in one individual is key to being able to execute. If you had to have multiple team members do that, it's cost prohibitive for us. And so we have those types of members on staff, not only on my team, but out in operations as well, where we have our engineer that is dealing with the shop floor on a day-to-day basis, is also helping us build out our engineering models and construct, working with the catalog team, and thinking about business process and the workbench. So those are, I would say, on the people perspective, a good incentive for them is it gives them exposure and a path for future personal growth and leadership within the company. So these people will be recognized and rewarded for what they're doing. Just another, street smarts thing small bites. You can spend a lot of time doing process design and requirement gathering, and trying to, rationalize the full end-to-end state of things. But I think sometimes it's more important just to get live with something. No matter how much planning you do, you're always going to learn something after you get live. So building that data, And getting management and your employees used to using the system is critical, because what happens is they start using the system, they get excited about it, and they're craving change. They want it to improve. And so that engagement creates more momentum than you would get if you had just taken more time to go live. But what you have to be willing to do is accept some failures, right? So when you don't spend as much time planning, it's inevitable your end product is going to have some oversights, which is not ideal. But as long as everybody understands that we need to get off of home plate and start moving, then I think that seems a lot more palatable. So, and the last thing I would say is, once you've started collecting data in your new system, manage to it. Hold people accountable to it. Don't just put the system in and then let's see how it's going, but actually change how you measure people and manage them. And it's to this new set of data that you have. And it will sort of take a life of its own, and new KPIs come up every day. So one last thing is project management. So I have a project management background. It's something that I've tried to implement and institute at this company. A lot of small companies don't really have this discipline. And it doesn't have to be sophisticated, but things need to be written down. Dates and times need to be committed to, even if they're general dates and times. And you have to have a tool set that allows you to collaborate internally and with your partner, right? So, which is 2020 in this case, and we've been able to implement tools and I think get 2020 to maybe work in different ways with different tools than they might with other customers. But the collaboration is there, and things are getting done. It's super critical in a remote world. So that's my 2 cents.
I got it. So does that say there are no challenges with implementing then? No, there are some
it's hard.
Yeah.
it's hard. So
Okay.
no, we've got plenty of challenges. Of course, production comes first, right? Project comes second. You've got to get the product out the door. And when you have people with day jobs, they're going to need to do that first. So we need to be flexible as a team and come up with ways to keep moving forward. What we've also found is that organization structure that is in place now may not necessarily fit the new world that you've created with an ERP implementation. For example, now that you have job cost data galore, if you don't have job cost accounting expertise at the plant, that might cause you to rethink that. There's just, if you don't have someone who's experienced with scheduling in a system and how that works, that might cause you to rethink the skill sets that you have for scheduling. If you don't have a plant manager that embraces data, that might cause you to rethink that. So, and then I would say the last challenge is, because it's a journey, scope management is a day-to-day battle. Making the right decisions on what to include or exclude out of our next release is, we have to ask ourselves on almost every call, should we punt on this or not? And so that I would say those are my top ones on challenges.
Excellent. I think Russ spoke about that challenge too, keeping it between the guardrails,
Yep.
and scope creep and things like that. Russ had some really interesting comments. So Brock, thank you so much. This, again, the voices from the industry, conversations, bringing your journey to life for others is something new for us. So I appreciate you doing that with us.